Introduction. Hey guys, close your eyes. Forget your bed. Forget the room. Forget the ticking clock, the hum of your charger, the warmth of your pillow. You're not there anymore. You're in Belgium. It's 1917. You're 19. Your boots are soaked. Your feet are numb. You haven't been dry in 2 weeks. Your uniform smells like it was pulled out of a swamp, because it was. You're standing in a trench that's half dug, half drowned, and you're sinking inch by inch into the kind of mud that doesn't let go. This isn't a drill. This isn't a game. This is the Western Front. And it hates you. If you like stories like this, give it a like. Hit subscribe, it helps us keep making them. Now take a breath. You're in the mud, and it's already in you. Chapter 1. Welcome to the mud. You woke up an hour ago, or maybe you didn't sleep at all. Doesn't matter. Sleep doesn't work here. Not really. Not when the ground sucks heat from your bones and every sound might be the one that kills you. The trench is silent, but not peaceful. Never peaceful. Just quiet in the way a graveyard is quiet. You sit on an overturned ammunition crate. Your legs are pulled up tight, like that'll help. It won't. The bottom of the trench is a mix of water, human waste, old blood, and something darker you don't want to name. You keep your boots off the floor because you learned the hard way. The floor bites back. It's still dark. Not night. Just endless morning. Cloud cover so thick it feels like the sky's trying to press you down. No sun. No light. Just a damp, sick-coloured haze that leaks through your gas mask, filters and settles in your lungs like fog made of fear. The guy next to you, Wilson, you think is mumbling a prayer, or maybe a football chant, or maybe just trying to remember the sound of something not awful. You haven't talked in hours, not because you're quiet, because your voice feels out of place here, like it doesn't belong in the same world as barbed wire and shattered bone. The air smells like rot. Sweet, sour, thick. It never leaves. You'd give anything for a breeze, even if it brought more gas. At least that would move the air. This is stillness wrapped in filth. Every breath tastes like wet wool and trench stew, which is mostly water, despair, and something that used to be meat. You shift. Bad idea. Your foot sinks deeper, past your ankle now. The mud sucks at your boot like it wants to keep a piece of you. You pull back, slow, careful. It makes a sound you can't describe, somewhere between a kiss and a death rattle. The guy across from you coughs. Wet, deep, not good. You don't ask if he's okay. You already know the answer. He's not. None of you are. Your rifle rests across your knees. It's clean as you can keep it when water falls from the sky and rises from the ground and seeps through your seams. You clean it every morning like it's a ritual, 'cause it is. 'Cause it's the only thing you can control. A dry chamber is hope. A jammed bolt is a death sentence. You glance at your fingers. Blistered, cracked, skin splitting at the knuckles. Your nails are black with grime. One is missing. You don't remember when you lost it. It doesn't matter. Nothing matters except staying upright and staying ready. There's a rat on the sandbag next to you, fat, brazen, tail twitching like a whip. It stares at you like it owns the place. And maybe it does. Rats here are survivors. They eat better than you do. They live longer too. You don't move, just stare back. Mutual hatred, mutual respect. Then it skitters off, disappearing into the dugout wall like it knows something you don't. You adjust your helmet. Not because it's crooked, just because it gives your hand something to do. Your hands are shaking, not from fear, from cold, from hunger, from the slow, grinding erosion of being alive here. Someone yells, distant, muffled. An officer? A runner? Hard to tell. Everyone sounds the same through the mud. You don't react, not until the guy next to you does. Then movement. You shift, grip your rifle, push off the crate and brace yourself against the trench wall. The sandbags are slick. They give under your weight. You're half afraid the whole thing's going to collapse. It might. Wouldn't be the first time. A runner appears, young, wide-eyed, covered in filth. He's panting like he ran from hell. Maybe he did. "Stand to," he says, voice hoarse. "We might be going over." Your stomach flips. Over. The top. Into no man's land. You knew this was coming. You just didn't know when. He disappears down the line. You look at Wilson. He looks at you. No words. Just a nod. That's how it always starts. No speeches, no music, no final meal. Just a nod. And the smell of the trench closing in around you like a fist. You check your gear. Rifle, bayonet, gas mask, ammunition. 1 cigarette, half a biscuit. Your brother's letter folded in your breast pocket, unread. You're ready, or close enough. Above, the artillery starts. A low, thunderous roll that builds and breaks and keeps building. Your ribs vibrate. Your teeth rattle. You taste fear. Mud splashes your cheek. The guy next to you vomits, quietly, then wipes his mouth and reloads. Another runner comes by. 5 minutes. Then he's gone. 5 minutes. You count each second by your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the war. Not the battles, not the bayonet charges, not the stories told after. This, the weight, the mud, the silence before the scream. And you're still here. For now. Chapter 2. The morning that never ends. You wake up before you're awake, before your body even remembers how to move. There's no jolt, no alarm, no voice. Just the cold, soaked deep into your joints, nudging you into consciousness like a wet hand pressing on your spine. It's still dark, or it's light. You can't tell. The sky is always a kind of grey that doesn't mean anything. Someone groans nearby, shifts in their blanket, coughs a thick hacking cough that ends in a spit. It splashes nearby. You don't flinch. You've stopped reacting to things like that. The trench never sleeps. Not really. It rests in cycles, like a tired old machine. A groan here, a mutter there, the shuffle of boots on duckboards, a splash, a swear. Life continuing out of inertia, not intention. You sit up slowly. Every movement cracks something inside you. Back stiff, neck tight. One knee doesn't want to bend. You roll your shoulders. Something pops. You don't wince. Pain is part of the ritual now. Your breath fogs in front of your face. That's new. The temperature dropped again. You rub your hands together, but there's no warmth left in them. They're cracked, filthy, wrapped in dried blood under your fingernails, not yours probably. You can't remember. Your coat is soaked again. Of course it is. You slept in it. You always do. Not that it helps. The trench sucks warmth from your skin the way the mud pulls at your boots, like it's trying to claim you from the ankles up. Someone nudges you with their boot. Breakfast, they mutter, already moving on. You nod, though they don't see. The word doesn't mean much, but the action is familiar, mechanical, something to do with your hands. You climb out of your sleeping nook, if you can call it that, a hollow cut into the trench wall with just enough space for a body and a prayer. You stand, stretch, feel the world wobble for a second before it settles into its usual tilt. The trench stinks. It always stinks. A mix of shit, piss, smoke, and something darker, something sweet and rotting. a smell that has no name but every man knows. It clings to your clothes, your hair, your thoughts. You make your way down the duckboards, careful where you step. One wrong move and you're thigh-deep in water and sludge. You've seen it happen. You've helped pull a man out once. He screamed like he was being swallowed alive. Maybe he was. The morning doesn't feel different, just slower, heavier, like the air itself is tired. You pass Harris, already eating something from a dented tin. He nods. You nod back. No one talks much anymore. Words feel like a waste of breath when breathing itself takes effort. You reach the small makeshift stove, a fire pit surrounded by sandbags and old ration tins, and wait your turn. The guy manning it offers you something warm in a tin mug. Tea. Or water, pretending to be tea. You take it without comment. Sip. It scalds your tongue and tastes like burnt socks. You drink every drop. A few others sit on crates and boxes hunched over, chewing slowly. No one eats quickly anymore. You draw it out, stretch the moment. Not because it's enjoyable, because it's one of the few things that isn't about survival, not directly, anyway. Breakfast is dry biscuits, hard enough to break teeth, and a smear of jam that looks like blood. You eat it like it's a feast. Your stomach doesn't care anymore. It gave up complaining weeks ago. As you eat, your eyes drift upward. The sky is beginning to shift from pitch black nothing to a paler, sullen grey. Light filters in like smoke, not strong enough to reveal, just enough to remind you that time is passing. You remember vaguely that mornings used to mean something. Back home, they meant sunrise, toast, the smell of coffee. Here, it just means the shelling hasn't started yet. You finish your breakfast, toss the tin into the pile with the others. A quiet clang, a familiar sound. You wipe your fingers on your coat. Grease adds to grime. It doesn't matter. Dirt's a second skin now. It holds you together. One of the younger guys is fixing his puttees, trying to wrap them neat and tight around his calves. He does it too fast. The folds twist. He doesn't notice. He'll learn, or he won't. You grab your rifle from where it leans against the wall, check it, slide back the bolt, wipe the stock with your sleeve. There's a smudge of something on the barrel ash maybe, or soot, or blood. You stop asking. The corporal shuffles by, nodding at nothing, eyes sunken. His helmet sits low on his brow. He mumbles something under his breath, a list, maybe, or a prayer, or both. A rat scurries past your foot, fat, bold. It looks up at you like it owns the place. Maybe it does. You move on. The trench narrows near the fire step. You duck under a sagging beam and nearly slip. Catch yourself just in time. You glance down. Someone's boot is half buried in the muck. No leg in it. Not anymore. No one's moved it. No one will. At the end of the trench, a man's whispering into his hands, repeating something, a name, over and over. You don't interrupt. He'll stop soon, or he won't. You reach your post, the same spot every morning. You climb up onto the fire step, peer over the parapet. No man's land lies ahead, a graveyard without tombstones. Craters, wire, shadows that might be bodies, or mud piles, or ghosts. The light is stronger now, but it doesn't help. Visibility just makes you more visible. You duck back down, wipe your nose on your sleeve, sniff, spit. The lieutenant barks something from further down the line. Routine orders, move sandbags, check wire, stay alert. You nod. You've heard it all before. You've lived it all before. And still the morning stretches. Not fast, not kind, just forward, like a slow grey tide. And you stand in it, waist deep, waiting. Not for anything good. Just for whatever comes next. You start the morning work like always, slow, silent, your mind somewhere else, or nowhere at all. The corporal barks out duties with a voice too tired to be angry. He doesn't yell because he wants to. He yells because that's what's left. You stack sandbags. You patch the wall where rain has eaten through the timber. You shovel mud from one place to another like it's going to matter. It won't. The trench always wins. It shifts in the night, collapses where you just fixed it, leaks where it shouldn't. Water finds new ways to enter. Rats find new things to chew. You dig and reinforce and wedge planks into soft dirt, and the trench just laughs, quietly, from below. Someone slips, crashes into the muck. You hear him curse, loud, sharp, then a quieter sound the moment of checking to see if he's broken something. He hasn't. Just pride. No one helps him up. He wouldn't want them to. You glance over the edge again. A thin line of mist hangs over no man's land like breath. There's a shape near the wire. Might be a tree stump. Might be a man. You've stopped guessing. If it moves, you shoot. If it doesn't, you wait for the wind to change. Behind you, the cook sets up another pot of something. You can't tell what. It smells like warm metal and burnt socks. He swats at a rat that climbs onto the crate next to him. It doesn't move fast. These rats aren't afraid. You see it again later, dragging a piece of biscuit bigger than its head. The medics pass by with a stretcher, empty this time, covered in a sheet that used to be white. They walk like men who've carried too many bodies and not enough answers. Someone mutters about mail. Maybe it's coming today. Maybe not. You haven't had a letter in weeks. You check your pocket anyway, just to feel the fold of paper already there. The last one you got. You don't read it anymore. You just touch it, like it might still mean something. There's talk of rotation, relief, a rumour. The word moves through the trench like smoke, fast, thin, gone before you can breathe it in. No one believes it. No one says it out loud. You just think about it for half a second, then you stop. Thinking's dangerous out here. One of the younger lads asks what day it is. No one answers. Someone says Tuesday, but no one checks. Could be Friday. Could be the same day as yesterday. Out here, the calendar's made of shell craters and rations. Time is the thing that happens between trauma. You stop to wipe your forehead. It's cold, but you're sweating. Just a little. Just enough to notice. The morning is stretching thin now, not ending, just changing. The way shadows shift when something's about to go wrong. You feel it before it happens. You always do. A silence settles over the trench. Not real silence, there's still the drip of water, the shuffle of boots, the low hum of tired breathing, but something beneath that. A stillness, a weight. You brace without thinking. Then it starts. Distant first. The deep thud of artillery from somewhere behind the line, then closer, sharper, the zip crack of a bullet overhead. You duck, but not fast, not urgent. You've learned the difference between danger and inconvenience. Someone yells, "Down!" You crouch. The wall shudders beside you. Dust falls from the timber. A shell lands further up the trench, close enough to make your teeth rattle. You feel the percussion before the sound, a hollow thump in your chest, like your heart remembering how to run. Screaming now. Not from fear, from protocol, men calling positions, names, orders. You don't join in. You keep your head low, hands on your helmet, breathing through your mouth. Another shell. Closer. You can feel the morning ending, not because it's noon, not because the light has shifted, but because the quiet part is over. The morning never ends, not really, it just changes shape, from grey waiting to red panic, from dull routine to raw survival. You crawl toward the next position, boots sinking with every movement. A body lies across the duckboards, face down. You don't check who. No one calls out for him. You climb over. Another crack rifle this time. Yours? Someone's. Doesn't matter. You reach the second station. A dugout, half collapsed but still useful. You duck inside. It smells like damp wood and burnt powder. There are 3 others already there. No one speaks. You press your back against the wall and listen. The shelling slows. Just a little. You glance out. No man's land is smoke now. A rolling fog of fire and ash and ghosts. You don't remember what the sun looks like. You don't remember what you look like in sunlight. Someone hands you a canteen. You drink. Water hits your stomach like a stone. Another man laughs, not because anything's funny, just because laughing is the only sound he has left. You lean back, close your eyes, and wait. Because the trench will always need more. Because the morning never ends. Not here. Not for you. Only the light changes. Only the sky pretends it's moved on. But down here, every day starts the same way, and it never really stops. Chapter 3. The smell hits first. You thought the worst part of the trenches would be the bullets, the shell fire, maybe even the rats. You were wrong. It's the smell. And it hits before you even get there. Your first day, marching up to the line, you remember thinking something died nearby. Not roadkill, not something small, something big. A horse maybe, or 10. Then you realized everything had died nearby. Everything was dying all the time, and none of it was being buried. Not properly, not deeply. Just shoveled over, half covered by dirt, limbs sticking out like tree roots that groan when the wind shifts. You keep your head down and your mouth shut because you don't want to breathe it. But you have to. You can't not breathe. And the smell? It finds you. Always. It crawls up your nose and lays eggs behind your eyes. It lives in your mouth. You taste it more than smell it. It gets on your skin, under your nails, into your socks. It's not a smell you recognize from back home. It's not sewage, not garbage. It's layered. Damp wool, burned powder, rotting meat, some of it human, excrement, everywhere. A mix of blood, sweat, mould, and something sour you can't name. Something sweet too. Sickly sweet. Like sugar gone wrong. You try not to gag. Doesn't matter. Eventually your body gives up trying to reject it. The gag reflex shuts down. Survival turns off your protest switch. Your first week in the line, you were stationed near a latrine trench, just a ditch with planks laid across it. Privacy optional, dignity forgotten. You thought that was the worst it could get. Until it rained. Then the trench filled, and everything overflowed, mixed together, became one long ankle-deep slurry of human waste and broken dreams. You waded through it because you had to. Your boots never recovered, your socks didn't either. You got trench foot 2 days later. Your sergeant just nodded like that was expected, handed you dry socks and said, "Change them every 4 hours or lose a toe." You changed them every 2. Still didn't matter. The smell settled into your boots like a tenant who doesn't pay rent. You stopped noticing until you caught a whiff of something else. Someone else. The worst part isn't even the smell itself. It's how it changes. One moment it's death. Then it's piss. Then it's mould. Then it's cordite from a shell that landed too close and didn't go off. Then it's silence. That dry metallic silence that tells you gas was here, and you missed it by a minute. Gas smells like mustard, they said, or garlic, or bleach. It smells like fear. You breathe shallow now, through a rag when you can, through your sleeve when you can't, sometimes through your teeth. Doesn't help. It just makes you feel like you're doing something. The dugouts are worse. Down there the air doesn't move, it just sits. You duck into sleep and it feels like crawling into someone's lungs. Everything is damp, your blanket, your shirt, your thoughts. The guy next to you hasn't changed clothes in 9 days. You haven't either. You both smell like the end of something. The rats don't care, they like the smell. It tells them dinner is served. Sometimes you lie awake and hear them chewing, not food, not gear, just flesh, soft tissue. You think it's a dream, then you turn your head and see one on your blanket watching you like it's waiting for your pulse to slow. You swing, miss. It doesn't run far, just enough to let you pretend you're in control. You're not. You're not in control of anything down here, especially not your own body. You haven't had a proper bath in over a month. You can't remember what clean skin feels like, what warm water feels like, what not smelling like damp socks and mildew and grief feels like. Someone gets a care package, soap inside, real soap. They pass it around like it's contraband. You sniff it once, and suddenly you're crying. Because it smells like lavender, like normal, like your grandmother's house or a hotel lobby or a life that didn't involve bayonets and barbed wire and decomposing friends. You pass it on, too dangerous to keep. You don't want to start hoping again. The next morning, someone throws up next to the sandbags. Not from illness, just from the stench. It's 4 a.m. The wind shifts, and for a second it smells like cooking meat. You don't want to know why. No one talks about it. Not out loud, but you all know what that smell means, and you'd give anything to forget it. You tried using tobacco once just to mask it, rolled it in newspaper and lit it with a match that barely struck. The smoke helped for 5 minutes. Then the wind brought it all back. You tried stuffing rags up your nose. That worked until the gas came and you couldn't breathe fast enough to get the mask on. So now, you just live with it. You let the smell become part of you. Part of the uniform. Part of the skin. Part of the dream you'll never wake up from. And when you do make it out, if you make it out, they say you carry it with you. They say people back home wrinkle their noses when you walk past. They say the smell stays in your lungs, your hair, your pores. They say it never leaves. And deep down, you already know they're right. Because you stopped smelling it weeks ago. And that's the worst part. Chapter 4. Rats, Lice and Rot. You wake up to the sound of chewing. Not a man, not a machine gun. Teeth. Tiny. Relentless. Wet chewing. And it's close. You open your eyes slowly, carefully, and there it is, on your chest. A rat the size of a loaf of bread, tail curled like a whip, nose twitching as it nibbles on the corner of your biscuit ration still tucked into your pocket. You freeze. It stares back, unbothered, like you're the guest in its home. Which you are. You jerk your shoulder. It hops off, scurries along the trench beam, vanishes into the wall like smoke through a crack. You don't scream. You don't curse. You just reach for the biscuit, flick off the rat saliva and eat what's left. Because hunger wins. Always. The rats are everywhere. Not just one or two. Not sneaky little scurriers. Swarms. They run along the boards like soldiers on patrol. They nest in the dugouts. They sleep next to you. They eat with you. Sometimes they eat you. They chew through your rations, through your packs, through bodies. You've seen it. A guy catches a stray round, goes down, doesn't die right away, but no medic reaches him, not in time. And by the time someone does, hours later, they find the rats had started the burial process early. Eyelids, lips, fingers. No shame, no fear. Just hunger. And the thing is, you can't kill them fast enough. You try. With bayonets, boots, shovels. You get a few, doesn't matter. For every rat you kill, 5 more come sniffing the blood. There's a theory they grow bigger off the corpses. Some swear they saw one the size of a cat. Others say bigger. You laugh it off until one runs over your foot and it's heavier than your boot. You stop laughing. Then there's the lice. You don't see them at first, you just itch. Neck, groin, armpits, anywhere sweat lives and light doesn't. You scratch until your skin flakes, cracks, bleeds. Still itch. You strip down in the dugout. Everyone else does too. Shirts off, trousers rolled. You all look like inmates in a shared punishment. You hold your shirt to the flame of a candle, not to burn it, just enough heat to cook the eggs. The eggs you can't see but know are there because your skin feels like it's crawling off your bones. You hear the sizzle, tiny, faint, like someone cooking rice on a cold pan. It helps, for an hour. Then they're back. They always come back. You think about the lice more than the enemy. That says something. They dig into you, lay eggs on you, drink you. The itching never stops. You sleep and you scratch. You march and you scratch. You reload and you scratch. You dream about scratching. You think maybe this is what madness smells like. Wet wool, blood, and skin oil baking in a trench full of other men too tired to care. And then there's rot. Not trench rot, not foot rot. Human rot. The kind that doesn't come from wounds, comes from waiting. You sit too long in one place. The moisture creeps in. The skin breaks down. The tissue underneath starts to forget its job. You see it in your fingers first. The pads get soft, shiny, then pink, then white, like soap left in the rain. Then they crack. You see it in your toes, in your heels. Your soles turn soft, mushy, raw, then red, then purple. Some guys lose entire chunks of foot before they notice. By then, it's too late. Gangrene sets in. The medics don't amputate anymore unless it spreads. They just wrap it, slap on disinfectant, and tell you to stay dry. Dry? As if that's a thing. The rot is everywhere. Wood, bone, morale. You start to think rot is the real enemy. Because bullets are simple. They hit you or they miss. But this is slow. It's personal. It crawls under your skin and sets up camp. And the worst part? It stinks. Like a bad tooth left out in the sun. Like old meat soaked in piss. You lie in the trench and it wraps around you. The rot gets into your thoughts, your dreams. You don't dream of home anymore. You dream of dry feet, clean sheets, a shirt without bugs in it. You dream of a day without scratching, without smelling death, without wondering if the soft squish under your boot is mud or something worse. Wilson, yeah, he's still here, got lice so bad he started shaving his arms, couldn't take it anymore. Used a razor blade wrapped in wire. No soap, no water, just dry scraping. Left red lines all over himself. Looked like he was trying to carve his way out. Didn't help. Next day the lice were back. More of them. He started laughing. Didn't stop for hours. Now he just hums. You don't ask what song it is. Someone coughs hard. Deep, thick rattling. You turn to look. He's got lice in his beard. You can see them crawling. You look away. It doesn't matter. You'll have them too by morning. That's how it works. In the trenches you don't get rats or lice or rot. You inherit them. They're your roommates, your uniform, your body, your fate. You accept it. Because if you don't, you go like Wilson. And Wilson isn't Wilson anymore. He's just another body the rats haven't reached yet. Chapter 5. Trench foot is not a joke. It starts as a tingle. That's all. A weird numb feeling in your toes, like they're asleep. No big deal. Everything's asleep down here. Your hope, your sense of humour, your better judgment. So when your feet start to feel strange, you just chalk it up to more misery in the pile. You wiggle your toes, no response. You shrug, lace your boots tighter, push it out of your mind. You shouldn't have. 3 days later, you can't feel your feet at all. Not a little, not their cold numb. Gone. You tap the heel of your boot against a rock. No sensation. You could step on a bayonet and not notice until you started bleeding out the back of your foot. You sit down on a sandbag and pull your boots off. You regret it instantly. Your socks peel away like skin. Your foot comes out with them swollen, white, bloated like bread dough left too long in the sun. You poke your heel. It jiggles. Wilson leans over, says, "You've got it." Trench foot. You've heard the stories. You didn't think they were real. Or worse, you thought you wouldn't get it, like misery would somehow skip you out of courtesy. It didn't. It never does. Trench foot isn't a blister. It's not a cold foot or a limp. It's your skin dying slow and loud and wet. The blood stops flowing. The nerves shut down. The flesh turns pale, then blue, then black. You scratch it. Doesn't itch. You stab it with your bayonet tip. Doesn't bleed. You know what that means? You tie your boot back on tighter this time, because if your foot's going to fall off, you'd rather it happen inside leather. The medics don't even blink. They've seen it too many times. Dry socks. Elevate, keep moving, one tells you, while treating a guy with half a face. He doesn't even look at your foot, just points to a pair of rags and says, "Change those out every 6 hours." You nod. You won't. Not because you're defiant, because you don't have time. There's always something happening. A raid, a shelling, a machine gun tearing through the parapet, a runner screaming that B Company is down to 4 men and one of them's dead but still sitting up. And your feet? They keep getting worse. By the end of the week, the rot sets in. The smell is unmistakable. Not strong, subtle, sweet. You know that smell. It's the same one that rises from shallow graves, from bloated corpses no one has time to bury. That sickly sweet rot that clings to the back of your throat and says, "This thing is over." You take off your boot again, just once. The skin on your heel slips away with it. You stare. Say nothing. Wrap it back up. Keep walking. Because the trench doesn't stop for limps. The enemy doesn't pause for infection. You go forward or you go under. Some men lose toes. Some lose feet. You saw a guy cut off his own pinky toe with a knife, laughing the whole time. Said, "Don't need it. Never liked it. Just slows me down." Then he passed out from blood loss. He made it back. They amputated the rest of the foot. Now he's got a wooden shoe and a 1,000-yard stare. You envy him sometimes. At least he got to leave. The thing is, trench foot isn't just pain. It's shame. Because somehow, even though it's the trench's fault, the mud, the water, the cold, the waiting, it still feels like failure. Like your body gave up. Like it turned on you. Like it's trying to defect. You hide it. You limp quieter. You grit your teeth through it. You don't tell the sergeant because you know what he'll say. Put a sock in it, literally. Then he'll slap you on the back and send you up the line. At night the pain wakes you. Not sharp, not hot. Dull, deep, like your foot is chewing itself from the inside out. You look at it in the candlelight and wonder if it's still yours. It doesn't look like it. You think, if I cut it off, could I sleep again? You think, if I drag it through enough ice water, will it remember how to feel? You think, if I die tomorrow, maybe I won't have to deal with it at all. Then you stop thinking, because that's more dangerous than the foot. Harris gets it too. Says it feels like walking on wet wood and broken promises. You laugh, then cry, then stop both. There's no time for either. Eventually, someone calls for volunteers. You step forward. Not because you want to, because you want to move. Because staying still is worse than bullets now. Because staying still means more water, more rot, more dead toes and frozen ankles and mornings where your foot won't fit in the boot and you have to punch it in like it's not part of you anymore. You go, you march, you ignore the pain until it stops, and then you know for sure you're in trouble. Because when pain leaves, rot replaces it, and you've only got one more step after that. The kind you don't take with your feet. Chapter 6. Shell shock isn't drama. It's survival. The shaking doesn't start with your hands. It starts behind your eyes. A flicker, like a spark in a burned-out engine. Then it spreads to your jaw, your shoulders, your fingertips. You clench your fists, try to steady your breath, tell yourself you're fine. You're not fine. No one is. You watch a shell land 50 meters away. The explosion kicks up mud and wood and something you don't want to identify. You don't flinch. That's the scary part. You just watch. Like you're not in your own body anymore. Like you're a ghost watching someone else wait to die. You know what this is. Everyone does shell shock. They called it cowardice once, said it was just fear, weakness. Said men just needed rest, or discipline, or a firm voice. They don't say that now. Not after seeing a grown man forget how to speak because a shell landed too close and rewired his mind like a broken switchboard. There's a private in your unit, big guy, loud laugh. Used to sing dirty songs before lights out. Now he sits with his back to the trench wall, eyes wide, mouth open. Not crying, just gone. He doesn't blink much, doesn't eat either. He tried to hand him a biscuit. He looked at it like it was a snake. The sergeant says he's on rest. Mental leave, he calls it, like the front line is a workplace and he's been given a long weekend, but everyone knows he's not coming back. Not really. You don't sleep much, not because of noise, because of silence. Because the silence between the barrages is worse than the sound. It's the waiting that does it. The endless counting. You lie there with your eyes open, thinking, it's been 20 seconds since the last one, 30, 40. Then the next one hits and your heart jerks like someone kicked it from inside. You flinch when spoons clink, when boots scuff, when someone sneezes too loud. You flinch when someone touches your shoulder, even gently, especially gently. Your body has learned a new language, and every sound is a threat. One night you dream you're back home. You hear a knock at the door and dive under the kitchen table. You wake up in the dugout, face down in mud, your fingers digging trenches of their own into the earth. Harris catches you, says nothing, just helps you up, brushes the muck off your jacket. You thank him. He nods. He gets it. He's there too. He shakes sometimes, not visibly. But when he lights a cigarette, the flame flickers too much. He drops the match. You both pretend it was the wind. A guy from another company starts screaming during a bombardment. Not words, just raw, ragged sound. He throws off his helmet, runs in circles, clawing at his face. They tackle him before he jumps into no man's land. Later he's tied to a stretcher, not as a punishment, as a mercy. They say he'll be transferred to a hospital behind the lines. You know what that means? He'll sit in a room with white walls and barred windows, shaking until he forgets why. You don't mock him. You envy him. Because if he gets out, at least he's out. You try to write a letter to your family. Halfway through, your hand locks up. You stare at your fingers. They don't move, like they've decided this story doesn't deserve to be told. You tear the paper in half, burn it, watch the edges curl like dead leaves. The officers tell you to keep morale up. You want to laugh, but laughter takes breath, and breath is a luxury. So you nod, and pretend, and keep walking. The worst part isn't the fear, it's the fact that fear is now normal. You eat with it, sleep with it, walk with it. It becomes your roommate, your shadow, your best friend. And when it leaves, when you feel nothing at all, that's when you know it's won. That's when you stop caring if the next shell has your name on it. That's when you look at the horizon and think, go ahead, take me. I'm already halfway gone. Chapter 7. Rain as a weapon. The rain doesn't fall. It attacks. It doesn't come in drops. It comes in sheets. Walls. Like someone up there is punishing the earth with buckets of dirty water tipped endlessly sideways. You stop calling it weather. Weather is a nuisance. This is war. It's been raining for 5 days, maybe 6. No one's keeping track anymore. There's no dry spot left in the trench. No dry uniform, sock, boot, sole. Everything is soaked. Everything is rotting. You're not walking on ground anymore. You're wading through filth. Your trench is now a canal. Knee-deep in places, waist-deep others. You've seen men slip, vanish beneath the water, come up choking on mud, rats, and their own panic. One didn't come back up. Just a helmet floating where he used to be. The boards under your feet, they call them duck boards, meant to keep you dry or floating or sinking or snapped in half. One broke under you this morning. You fell in up to your chest, came out coughing with leeches on your arm and a foul taste in your mouth that still won't leave. The rain eats everything. Wood, cloth, skin, resolve. It turns rations to mush and maps to paste. It floods dugouts until men are sleeping sitting up with their knees pulled to their chests and their boots floating next to them like lifeboats. You sleep wet. You wake wetter. Nothing dries, nothing warms, nothing stops. Even your rifle is giving up. You strip it 3 times a day now, wipe the bolt, oil the chamber. Still, it misfires. The mud gets into everything, a fine, gritty paste that laughs at cleaning cloths and sticks to metal like it belongs there. The lice don't mind the rain. Neither do the rats. They swim now, run across the water like it's theirs. One crawled across your lap last night. You didn't move. Couldn't. What's the point? Rain has changed the sound of the trench. Gunfire is muffled now. Explosions are deeper, wetter, like the earth is sighing instead of screaming. You can't hear footsteps anymore, just the slop of boots in water. And when shells land, the mud swallows them with a low grunt. Sometimes they don't explode. Just sit there, hissing. You don't go near them. Gas still works in the rain, just moves lower, crawls instead of floats. You've seen the yellow mist drift across the water, rippling like oil. Masks on, even when the filters are wet and useless. You wear them anyway, out of habit, out of fear, out of desperation. There's a stretch of trench they call the sinkhole. No one walks it anymore. Too dangerous. Too deep. One guy tried last night, took a step and sank straight down. Someone threw him a rope. He didn't reach it, just flailed, then disappeared. The corporal marked the spot with a bayonet stuck in the mud. No one talks about it. Your feet are rotting, not trench foot anymore. Something worse. The flesh is soft, torn. You wrap them in rags. Change socks when you can, which isn't often. Your boots squish when you walk. That sounds squish, squish. It's in your dreams now. You dream of rain, even when it stops. Not that it ever really stops. It just pauses, catches its breath, then starts again, harder, meaner, as if it remembered it had a job to finish. It comes sideways now, wind-driven, piercing, like needles through canvas. There's no cover, not enough ponchos. You huddle under a bit of tarp someone tied between two sticks. It drips. It leaks. You sit shoulder to shoulder with 3 other men, none of you speaking. Just blinking, breathing, waiting for the water to forget you. You've seen men break from rain. Not bullets, not bombs. Rain. A steady drip on the back of the neck until they snap, start muttering, digging with their hands, trying to find the floor beneath the water. There is no floor, just more mud, more drowning. Mail doesn't come in the rain. Supply lines slow down, food arrives soaked. Cigarettes won't light, letters smear. One guy read a letter from home with half the words melted off. Still read it out loud, made up the rest. You laughed. You didn't mean to, just slipped out, first time in days. Then the rain hit harder, and the laughter died. Harris says it's personal, says the rain knows what it's doing, that it watches, waits, targets morale instead of men. He might be right, because the rain doesn't need to kill you to win. It just needs to keep going, until your will melts with everything else. You used to pray for clear skies. Now you don't bother. You pray for a shallower puddle, a dry sock, a moment when your hands don't look like prunes. You pray for a day where the water stays outside your skin. You pray for something solid beneath your boots. You never get it. Because the rain is patient, and it has all the time in the world. Chapter 8. The first time you see a body move wrong. It's not the blood that gets you. Not the limbs, not the screams, not even the blank stare that sets in after the last breath. It's the movement. The first time you see a body move wrong, your brain doesn't understand. It tries to correct what it's seeing. Tells you it's a trick of the light, a muscle twitch, maybe the wind. It isn't. You see it across no man's land. A guy British, you think tangled in barbed wire. Face down. You saw him fall yesterday. A clean shot through the neck. No pulse, no sound. The blood pooled under him like spilled paint. This morning he twitched. One leg kicked, bent at the knee, sharp, fast like a reflex, like he was about to stand up. But he didn't. He just stayed there, head buried in the dirt, back rising and falling with some horrible illusion of breath. You stared. Someone behind you muttered, "Nerves. Happen sometimes." You nodded, but your stomach didn't believe it. Later you saw another. Face up, eyes open, mouth slack, flies crawling across the teeth. You stepped over him on your way to the forward trench, tried not to look. But then he moved. Not much, just a hand. Just enough to curl the fingers like he was about to reach out. You froze. Harris saw it too. Stared for a second, then said, "They don't know they're dead yet." He was joking, kind of. But you couldn't stop thinking about it. That's the thing, they don't tell you the body doesn't go all at once. Parts of it stay, Muscles firing, eyes blinking, hearts beating just long enough to confuse you, long enough to make you think maybe, just maybe, they're still in there. They're not. Not really. You learn to stop looking, stop waiting for confirmation, stop hoping. Because the worst part is when it doesn't stop, when it keeps moving. A leg that won't lie flat, an arm that reaches then stiffens, a mouth that opens wide in a scream you never heard because it came after the sound had already left the air. You tell yourself it's just the body winding down, just mechanics, leftover sparks. But then you hear one of them moan, low, wet, half syllables, half words. You go to check against your better judgment. He's got no jaw, just a mess of teeth and red and gasping, still trying to speak, still trying to breathe. You kneel next to him. What are you supposed to do? You hold his hand. He squeezes, then stops. That night, you don't sleep, because you feel his fingers on yours, cold, desperate, still trying to stay. It messes with you. Not the death, you can handle death. It's simple. It's the transition. The half alive. The not quite dead. The pieces that forget what they're supposed to be. One guy went mad watching his best friend seize for 2 minutes straight after a mortar landed nearby. Arms flailing, legs jerking, eyes wide. He was gone, obviously. Brain already dust. But the body kept going, like it didn't get the message. By the time it stopped, the guy watching couldn't speak anymore. He just stared at the wall. Now he sleeps with his back to everyone. Jumps when you say his name. You see movement everywhere now, even when there isn't any. A branch shifts in the breeze and you flinch. A helmet rolls down a slope and you reach for your rifle. You dream of fingers twitching, necks snapping the wrong direction, corpses blinking like they've still got something left to say. You tell yourself it's normal, that everyone sees it, that everyone feels it. But you stop making eye contact with the dead. You stop checking. You stop wondering. Because once you've seen the body move wrong, once you've watched the last breath turn into a lie, you don't want to know what comes next. You just want to walk away before it twitches again. Chapter 9. Gas. The silent monster. There's no warning. Sometimes you get a whistle, a shout, a frantic wave from the trench ahead, but usually it just arrives. Creeps in low like fog with purpose. No sound, no impact. Just a slow, sickly coloured mist curling over the parapet, hugging the ground like it knows where you're hiding. Gas. You know the types. Mustard, chlorine, phosgene. The names mean nothing anymore. They all burn. They all kill. They all eat the inside of your lungs like acid with teeth. The first time you see it, you hesitate. It looks beautiful, unreal. A yellowish-green cloud drifting along the floor of the trench, soft and glowing in the dawn light, like smoke from a witch's fire, like something out of a dream. Someone yells, "Gas! Masks on!" You scramble, hands fumbling with straps and buckles. You grab your mask from its tin, rip it out, shove it over your face. Too fast. The straps twist. One catches your ear. You don't fix it. Just pull tighter. You're already breathing shallow, praying you were fast enough. The guy next to you wasn't. He's coughing, not like a cold, like he's drowning. Each breath a choke, a retch, a scream into wet air. He clutches his throat. His skin goes red, then purple. His eyes bulge. He looks at you not for help, just for witness. He wants someone to see him as he dies. You do. It takes 2 minutes. You don't move. You don't breathe. You don't speak for the rest of the day. The masks work most of the time. but the filters clog, the lenses fog, the rubber stretches, rips, frays, and they don't seal right when your hands are shaking, when your face is wet, when your heart is pounding out of time. Some men take them off, not out of bravery, out of panic. They can't breathe inside. They feel like they're suffocating. They gasp for fresh air and get poison instead. You see them clawing at their throats like the air's made of nails. The medics can't do much. Burned lungs don't heal, eyes don't grow back. You've seen men coughing up chunks of tissue, teeth coming loose from the inside out. One guy coughed until his ribs cracked, just fell to the floor and stopped. The gas lingers, sinks into the mud, clings to gear, to coats, to hair. You smell it for days, a mix of bleach and burning sugar. It lives in your clothes. You burn what you can. The rest, you wear and pray. Sometimes it doesn't even come from the enemy. A shell lands wrong. Wind changes. It rolls back toward your line. Suddenly you're choking on your own artillery. Friendly fire in a bottle. Gas changes the way you move. You keep your head down, your ears open. You don't stray far from your mask. You dream with it in your lap. You wash the straps when you can. You replace the filters even when they don't need it, just in case. You stop trusting the wind. You stop trusting the air. You stop trusting the way your lungs feel when they're full. Because that feeling, that moment of clean, invisible breath, it might be the last thing you ever feel. The officer tells you to keep your gear clean, to check your seal every morning, to stop wasting filters. But the masks don't stop the fear. They don't stop the dreams where you wake up choking, mouth open, no air, gas thick in your throat like syrup boiling from the inside. You don't sleep well anymore. You lie there listening for the hiss, the shout, the word that means move or die. The word that turns a quiet trench into a screaming grave. And in the worst moments, the long, slow ones where nothing happens and the sky stays still, that's when the fear comes hardest. Because you know it's waiting. You know the air isn't safe. You know the next breath might be your last. Not from bullets, not from shrapnel. From something you can't fight, can't shoot, can't even see. Chapter 10. Night watch, no sleep. Night doesn't bring rest. It brings quiet, and the quiet is worse. During the day there's chaos, shouting, firing, movement. It gives your brain something to do, something to focus on. At night the trench goes still, and all that's left are your thoughts and the sound of the dirt breathing around you. You're on watch tonight. 2 hours. Could be 3, could be 5. Time doesn't matter anymore. Your officer says it's rotational. That's a joke. There's no rotation when half your unit's gone and the other half can't walk straight. You climb the fire step, settle your elbows on the parapet. Try not to knock loose anything that might sound like a man standing up. You listen. The wind moves slow across the wires. It hums, like whispers trying to get in your head. The mud squishes underfoot. Someone stirs behind you, shifts in his sleep, groans, then stillness again. You scan the dark. There's no moon, just stars smeared across the sky like ash. Shapes shift in the distance. Maybe trees, maybe men. Maybe your eyes turning on you after too many hours without sleep. You blink hard. Keep your rifle close. Keep one hand on the bolt. Keep your ears open. You hear things. Every soldier does. Footsteps where there are none. Coughs behind enemy lines. Sometimes voices too clear, too close. A name. Your name. You don't respond. You don't look. Because that's how night plays tricks. You've seen guys fire at shadows, burn through a clip into empty fog, then spend the next hour explaining it wasn't nothing. It moved, it breathed, it watched. And maybe it did, but it wasn't the enemy. Not always. You don't sleep before night watch. You can't. If you do, you wake up slower, fogged, useless. You sit up instead, sip cold tea from a dented cup, let the cold seep in. Better to be alert and shivering than warm and dead. Someone offered you a cigarette once before watch. You turned it down. Too much light, too much smell, too much of a signal to anyone watching that someone's up there ready to be shot. You pull your scarf tighter. The wind picks up, carries a smell from no man's land. Mud, cordite, bodies, always bodies. The trench doesn't sleep, it just shifts. Snoring, groaning, coughing fits that never end. Men scratching at lice. A bayonet clinking against wood. You check your watch. 12 minutes. That's all it's been. 12. You try not to think about the hour ahead. You count things instead. Stars, cracks in the sandbags, finger twitches, anything to keep your brain busy, anything to keep your eyes open. You dig your fingers into the wood. Feel splinters press into your skin. That helps. You see movement. Small. Left side. A silhouette, maybe. You freeze. Raise the rifle, slow. Breathe. No sound. No movement. You wait. 10 seconds. 20. Nothing. Just your heartbeat too loud in your ears. You lower the rifle. A little. Then you hear a click behind you. Your spine stiffens. You spin, ready to fire. It's just Harris. Whispers. It's your break. You nod. Step down from the fire step. Knees aching, back stiff, eyes red. You didn't blink the whole time. You walk to the dugout, not far. Still feels like miles. Inside, someone snores. Another scratches. The guy next to you mutters in his sleep, a name, over and over. You curl into your blanket. Still in uniform, still wearing boots. No point taking them off. You'll be up again soon. You close your eyes. Then you hear it. A whistle. Not from your side. You sit up. Look around. No one else heard it, or they're pretending not to. You lie back down, eyes wide open. You'll sleep when the sun returns. Maybe. Chapter 11. Letters from nowhere. You get a letter today. Not a new one, it's been travelling for weeks, maybe months. Smudged ink. Corners soft from too many hands. But it made it. Somehow. Through the lines, past the shells, across mud-soaked paths and trembling couriers. That's a miracle out here. Your name is still legible, barely. The officer hands it to you like it weighs nothing. He doesn't know it'll sit in your pocket for 3 hours before you have the nerve to open it. It doesn't just carry words, it carries a world that doesn't exist anymore. You stare at it for a while. Folded neatly, sealed with a thumbprint, you think of home, of a kitchen table, of hands that don't shake and voices that don't yell unless the dog's in the garden again. Finally, you open it. It's from your sister. She writes about the neighbour's new baby, the cat catching birds again, how Mum still sets an extra plate at dinner like you might walk through the door any minute. You smile, but it doesn't reach your eyes. She asks how you're doing, whether the food is any good, if the socks you brought are holding up. She says she's knitting more, says they're grey this time for luck. You want to laugh. You want to scream. You want to write back. The socks are soaked in mud and blood and they've fused to my skin, but thank you. Instead, you fold the letter and tuck it in your breast pocket, where the paper rests against your chest like a shield. You'll read it again tomorrow, and the day after that, until the words blur. Until the next letter comes, if it comes. Some men don't get letters at all. They wait anyway. They sit by the mailbag when it arrives, pretending not to care, pretending they didn't just watch every envelope, hoping for a name that sounds like theirs. Then the bag is empty, and they go quiet. One guy broke down last week when he finally got one from his fiancée, said she's marrying someone else, said she couldn't wait, said she was sorry. He burned the letter, watched it curl in the dirt, didn't speak for 2 days. Some men don't even read them. They keep them unopened. Let them live like tiny unopened doors to a world where the sky isn't grey and the mud doesn't suck at your boots and the wind doesn't carry the smell of decay. Others read them out loud, over and over. You've heard the same letter from Harris a dozen times. He changes the words slightly every time. You never correct him. Maybe he doesn't even notice. The officer writes too. His letters are shorter, tighter. He reads them under his overcoat, lips barely moving, eyes darting to the edges like the words might run away. You can tell when he gets bad news. He doesn't yell as much that day. Sometimes, when you're lucky, someone sends a parcel. Tea, a tin of ham, a bar of soap, a real one. Smells like lavender or citrus or home. You ration it like gold. Let everyone take a sniff. Close your eyes and pretend the steam from a brew is from your own kitchen. You tried writing back last week. Got one sentence in. Dear Mum, I'm alive. Then you stopped. What else could you say? That the rats are back? That the trench walls weep at night? That you watched a man dissolve in front of you under gas he never saw coming? So, you crumpled the paper and tossed it. Maybe you'll try again next week. Maybe not. Sometimes you dream about home, not the people, the smells, fresh bread, linens, soap, a fireplace, the warmth of it. You dream about a letter that says it's over. You can come home. You wake up with your hand on your chest, fingers pressed to the paper hidden there. It's old now, damp around the edges. The words are fading. You've memorized them anyway. They don't change, even when you do. Chapter 12. The latrine situation. The trench doesn't smell like death. Not at first. It smells like waste. Like piss and rot and something worse than either. The stench is thick, alive. You taste it before you see it, like something sour hiding under your tongue. The latrine, if you can call it that, is a hole in the ground. Sometimes just a shallow ditch with planks laid across it. Other times it's a metal drum cut in half, dragged into the corner of a dugout, curtained with a bit of torn canvas that does nothing. Most days it's just the back end of the trench, wherever someone can squat for 30 seconds without getting shot. You learn fast, hold your breath, watch where you step, keep your kit lifted above the slop. It's not just the smell, it's the sound. Wet splashes in the dark, the buzzing of flies, the soft grunt of someone trying to hurry before the next shell hits. You stop looking at people's faces. You give them space, or at least the illusion of it. Privacy is a joke here. The first time you go, you feel shame, like you're doing something wrong, something human in a place where human rules don't apply. But by the third day, you're just another body bent over a slit trench, boots in the mud, staring at the sky like it might forgive you. The officers don't use the same latrine. They have something better, a wooden box with a seat. Still smells, still miserable, but it's something. You catch yourself envying that box, that seat, the fact they don't have to balance on a rotting plank while enemy fire cracks overhead. Hygiene here is more dream than rule. Use a rag to wipe, sometimes a bit of newspaper if there's any left dry. You don't always wash your hands. There isn't water, not clean water, and even when there is, you save it for your rifle or your canteen or your boots, not for you. You don't talk about it, but you all know it's there. The smell creeps into the dugouts, into the food, into your clothes. You can't scrub it out, it lingers. Makes your nose raw, your eyes water. You try not to eat much, not just because there's so little to eat, but because you know what comes next. One guy got sick. Real sick. Couldn't make it to the latrine fast enough. Just went in the trench. No one said anything. Not to his face. But you all avoided that part of the wall for days. You see men crawl out during shellings just to relieve themselves, because the blast isn't as bad as what happens when you can't hold it in anymore. You'd rather take your chances with shrapnel than sit in your own mess. You don't feel clean, ever. You don't feel human, really. Just a body that processes pain and fear and hunger. A body that leaks and bleeds and stinks like all the others. It becomes mechanical. Function over form, shame over time. There's dysentery too. You try not to think about it. Try not to talk about the guy who went in and didn't come back out. Too dehydrated, too weak. Just collapsed in the mud with his trousers down and his dignity gone. Sometimes, when you laugh and you do, still, in short, sharp bursts, it's because someone made a joke about the latrine. It's the one thing everyone hates. The one thing that doesn't discriminate. Privates, officers, medics, snipers. Everyone suffers. Even the rats avoid it. You don't think much about toilets back home anymore. But sometimes, late at night, when the rain stopped and the trench is quiet, you think about porcelain. Cold, clean, white. You think about a door you can close, a flush, a towel, soap. You think about a sink. You think about not holding it in until your stomach cramps and your back aches. You think about being a person, not just something trying to stay dry and alive. There's a part of the trench no one uses anymore. They say it collapsed during a storm, walls gave in, buried a man while he was going. By the time they dug him out, the trench had filled in behind him. He was trapped in it, face down, pants still around his knees. They didn't tell his family. Just said he died in the line of duty. And maybe he did. Because even something as basic as relieving yourself, even that can kill you here. The trench doesn't care what you need. It just takes what it wants. And you learn to give it quietly, quickly, and without looking back. Chapter 13. The noise never stops. You think you'll get used to it. That eventually the sounds will fade into the background like wind or distant traffic or someone else's radio playing across the street. But the noise doesn't fade. It sharpens. It slices. And it never, ever stops. The trench is a symphony of destruction, a constant grinding, humming orchestra with no conductor and no rhythm, just the roar of artillery and the crack of rifle fire and the whine of something you hope doesn't have your name on it. During the day it's louder than thought, shells landing close enough to shake your ribs, dirt spitting into your face like the ground itself is cursing you. You can feel them coming, not just hear them. A deep, distant boom, followed by that terrible whistle. Then silence. A half second where your lungs lock, then impact. Sometimes it's close. Sometimes it's too close. You stop reacting outwardly. You don't duck, don't flinch, but inside your heart lurches every time, like it's trying to claw its way out of your chest and run the other direction. The machine guns are worse. Not for volume, for rhythm. That grinding, coughing, stuttering snarl like a beast choking on bullets. They don't fire in bursts. They fire in floods. The sound is too fast for your brain to track, too loud to block out. Each round tears through the air like a fingernail down the inside of your skull. Then there's the mortars, the little pops, so innocent at first. Then the thud. You can feel it in your molars, like someone slamming a door inside your head. And the screams. You try not to hear those. You try to convince yourself it's the wind, or maybe just someone yelling orders, but you know the difference. You learn the pitch of pain, the specific howl of a man who's seen his own insides and still has time to beg. Some scream and don't stop, even after the medics drag them away. Even when their voices go hoarse, they still scream in their minds. You can see it on their faces days later. And some don't scream at all. That silence is worse. But it's not just the weapons. The trench itself makes noise. The creak of rotted boards underfoot. The wet slurp of boots being pulled from muck. The constant scrape of movement gear, bayonets, helmets, all sounding too loud, too close. You try to whisper. Everyone does. Voices drop to murmurs. Even the officers speak softer, as if shouting might bring more shells, as if the trench might punish you for being too loud. You laugh less. Not because there's no reason, sometimes there is, but because laughter draws attention. It cuts through the noise like a flare. And besides, it doesn't sound right anymore. You hear someone laugh and it always sounds forced, stretched, like a rope fraying at the edges. At night, it's worse in a different way. The big guns slow down, not always, but enough. And in that absence, the smaller sounds creep in. The drip of water, the scratching of rats, the teeth grinding of the man next to you, asleep but not resting. You lie there with your hands over your ears, trying to block out the world. Doesn't help. The sound's already inside you. Even dreams aren't quiet. You dream in echoes. Wakes you up in a cold sweat, heart pounding like a drum you never asked to hear. One night you mistake a distant pop for a firework. Just for a moment. Then you remember where you are, and you laugh. And the laugh sounds wrong. You meet men who've gone deaf, some from explosions, others from nothing in particular, just too much for too long. They stare at your lips when you talk, nod without understanding. They don't mind, sometimes they even smile. Silence is a kind of mercy here. You stop covering your ears. You stop reacting. But the noise doesn't stop. It follows you. Lives in the base of your skull. Buzzes behind your eyes. You hear it even when there's nothing to hear. Because the front never goes quiet. And if it ever did, you'd think you were dead. Chapter 14. Why no one charges until they do. The orders come down like thunder from a distant sky. Prepare to go over the top. Everyone hears it. No one reacts. It's not shock. It's exhaustion. Because you've been waiting for hours, days, weeks. Every minute in the trench is a whisper of that possibility. So when it becomes real, when someone finally says it out loud, it feels less like a command and more like a bad joke you've heard too many times before. You nod, slowly, like it's a meal you know you have to swallow. No one wants to go over the top. No one wants to be the first to climb a ladder into a field designed to kill you before your second step. But there's a rhythm to war, a pressure that builds, and eventually something has to break. You start to prepare. You clean your rifle, not that it matters. You check your boots, tighten the laces. One last attempt to keep the mud from sucking them off your feet. You take out your bayonet, fix it in place. Cold metal, long and narrow, meant to finish what bullets don't. And then you wait. Again. Because that's what war really is. Not action, not glory, just waiting. A whistle will blow. You know it. Everyone knows it. But until then, silence, or worse, nerves. Twitching fingers, tapping feet, men muttering prayers to gods they stopped believing in a long time ago. You glance at Harris. He doesn't look back, just stares at the wall in front of him like it's a window to another life. Someone's shaking. You don't turn to see who. Someone else is muttering numbers under their breath, counting steps maybe, or names, or sins. You don't speak, because there's nothing to say that hasn't already been said in dirt and blood and whispered curses. No one charges, until they do. It doesn't happen all at once. The whistle blows and for half a second nothing moves. It's as if time folds in on itself, everyone caught in that breath between orders and action. Then someone climbs. One man, one hand over the other on the rungs. You follow, not because you're brave, not because you believe in anything, because it's your turn. The first step into no man's land is like stepping into a dream where everything wants you dead. The sky is open, the horizon wide, and yet you've never felt more trapped. You keep your head down, move forward, one step, two. Then the guns wake up. Machine gun fire cuts across the field like a scythe. You hear it before you see it. The whip crack of metal slicing air, the dull thud of bodies hitting mud, the scream of a voice you don't recognize. You keep moving, because to stop is to die. Because behind you is a trench full of ghosts. And in front of you maybe, just maybe, is a chance to live long enough to stop running. Barbed wire catches a man beside you, wraps around his leg like a trap sprung from the ground. He falls. You don't stop. You can't. The shells return. Close. Dirt showers your helmet, ears ringing, eyes full of dust. You blink through it, raise your rifle, fire at shadows, hit nothing, maybe someone, doesn't matter. You duck, crawl, keep low. One man is crawling backward, both hands clutching his stomach, blood pouring between his fingers like syrup. He's not screaming, just gasping, mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. You step over him. There's no shame in that. There's no time. You make 20 feet, maybe 30. Then the order comes again. Fall back. No one says it twice. You turn, sprint, slip, crash into the trench like a corpse tossed from a truck. Heart pounding, chest burning, legs numb. You look around. Half the men didn't come back. Some are still out there, some are lying face down, some are sitting up, not moving, staring at the sky like it holds an answer. You count heads, then stop. Because it doesn't matter. The survivors aren't whole, they're just less broken than the rest. You sit down, back to the wall, mud soaking through your trousers. You stare at your hands, still shaking, still alive. For now. You think about the next time, because there's always a next time. No one charges until they do. And they always do. Chapter 15. When you finally get leave. It starts with a piece of paper, folded, stamped, carried in the officer's hand like it's just another errand, another form. He doesn't announce it. He just calls your name. You stand up, expecting trouble. Instead, he says, "You've been granted leave." The words don't register. Not at first. Leave? You wait for the catch, the condition, the joke. There isn't one. Just a nod and a scribbled note that says you can leave the trench. Not forever, just long enough to remember what it feels like to stand on a street that isn't made of mud. You pack what little you have. You don't tell anyone goodbye. That's bad luck. Besides, you'll be back. Probably. You walk past the front line, past the reserve trenches, past the support units, and the endless parade of men digging, hauling, yelling. You don't look back. You take a transport truck to a rail station. The truck smells worse than the trench, if that's possible. Oil, sweat, dried blood. You share it with 6 other men, none of whom speak. The silence is too loud. At the station you wait. A train rattles in. You board. Sit by the window. Watch the war disappear one fence post at a time. The countryside returns. Trees, grass, birds. You forget what birds sound like. At first it's uncomfortable. All this open space. All this colour. Like the world's been painted fresh just for you. You squint at it like it's a trick. Then you arrive. A small town, or maybe a city, you're not sure, you don't care. You check into a lodging house, a cot, a bath, a real towel. You undress. Your clothes hit the floor with a wet slap. You step into the tub. The water turns black. You scrub. Hard. More dirt comes off than skin. Your hands look foreign, pink, soft. You forgot what clean feels like. You sit in the water until it cools. Then you sit longer. You sleep in a bed that doesn't rock with explosions, doesn't creak with footsteps, doesn't stink of mould and iron and the past. You still don't sleep. You wake at midnight. Check for your rifle. It's not there. You panic. Breathe heavy. Then remember you're not there. You lie back. Stare at the ceiling. It's too quiet. The next morning you walk into town. People smile at you. Not because they know you, just because they can. You flinch when someone taps your shoulder. You avoid eye contact. The butcher hands you a paper-wrapped parcel. You don't know what's in it. You eat it anyway. It tastes like heaven, like memory. You find a pub. Order something with a name you recognize. The glass is cold, the drink is colder. You sit in the corner, alone. The barmaid asks if you want another. You say yes. Then another. Then you stop counting. Across the room, a man plays a piano. The song is old, soft. It makes your chest ache. You excuse yourself, step outside. You cry. Just once, just long enough. You write a letter. To your sister. You say thank you for the socks. You say the trench isn't so bad. You lie. Not because she can't handle the truth, but because you can't handle saying it. Your leave lasts 6 days. On the 5th, you stop washing your hands. On the 6th, you wear your boots again. Not because you have to, because you can't not. The train returns. The truck waits. The officer nods. You step back into the trench. It smells the same. Looks the same. Feels the same. But you're different. Not healed. Not rested. Just reminded of what it's like to feel human, even if it's only for 6 days. And now, back in the dirt, rifle in hand, boots wet and skin tight with grime, you realize something awful. You miss the quiet, the glass, the girl with the piano hands. And that's dangerous. Because you brought a little piece of peace back with you. And out here, that's enough to get you killed. Chapter 16. Field surgery without hope. You don't want to end up here. No one does. The aid post isn't a hospital. It's a tent. A canvas square stitched into the side of hell, where they drag the broken and bleeding and try to keep their insides from falling out. It's not sterile. It's not clean. It's not quiet. It's the last place you go before they decide whether to save you or to stop trying. You've seen it. been close, watched them carry in a man who was whole 5 minutes ago and is now just meat held together by rags and hope. The stretcher bearers don't run. They shuffle, one in front, one in back, boots sloshing through mud, so thick it eats the wounded twice. They don't talk, they just grunt, lift, walk, drop. The man on the stretcher is moaning, low, breath-catching, a sound that says, "I'm still here," even when his body doesn't agree. Inside the tent, it's chaos wrapped in bandages. There's no waiting room, no order, just a floor littered with limbs and bodies and buckets filled with things that used to be part of people. The smell is unforgettable. Blood and sweat and burnt flesh, hot iron and old death. A fog of it hangs in the air. You breathe through your mouth. Doesn't help. The surgeon looks like he hasn't slept in days, maybe weeks. His coat is soaked. Not just in red, in every shade of brown and black and grey a human body can become. His sleeves are rolled, but it doesn't matter. Everything's stained. Everything's touched. There's a pile of saws on the table, scalpels, pliers. Not a single one is clean. He gestures to the table without looking. They place the man down. He starts screaming. The surgeon doesn't flinch. Someone holds the man's arms. Another holds his legs. No morphine. There isn't enough. You hear the blade saw through bone. You hear it in your teeth. A slow, grating, wet rhythm that turns your stomach and makes your vision blur. The man bites down on a strap of leather, screams into it, tries to lift his body, fails. You look away, but you still hear it. One guy outside threw up when he heard it for the first time. Another pissed himself. No shame in either. You never forget that sound. The surgeon finishes. Just like that. Bandages the stump, tosses what's left into a bucket, moves on to the next. He doesn't speak to the patient, doesn't check if he's still awake, just wipes the blade and starts again. There are too many bodies, too few hands. Triage is quick. Look, judge, decide. Some get treated. Some get tagged. If you're lucky, you get a white strip around your wrist. If you're not, a blue one. If you're marked blue, you're done. They lay you in the corner, cover you with a coat, or not. Depends how fast they're moving. Sometimes they leave you uncovered. Sometimes the flies find you first. You see a man try to crawl off the table, arm gone, blood pumping in stutters, whispering for his mother. No one hears him. Everyone hears him. No one stops. Because there's always another one behind him. Always another scream. Always another wound too wide to close. Some of the wounded beg to be shot. You used to think that was just talk. Then you saw it. A man hit in the gut, opened like a fish. Nothing to do but wait. He looked up at his mate and said, "Please." The mate didn't do it, but you could tell he wanted to. The surgeon said he'd be dead in an hour. He lasted 2. You don't talk about it afterward. You just sit outside the tent, light a cigarette with hands that won't stop shaking and hope to God your name isn't next. The worst part is knowing they're doing their best. And it still looks like this. This isn't surgery. It's survival. By amputation. By prayer. By attrition. No one leaves that tent whole. Some don't leave at all. You pray you never go in. And if you do, you pray you don't come out. Chapter 17. Why no one cries anymore. It's not that you don't feel anything. It's that you can't afford to. At first, you cried when you got the letter that your friend from Basic didn't make it. When you saw your first body in no man's land, jaw open like it had something left to say. When your feet went numb for 2 days and you thought they might stay that way. But that was early. Back when feelings still had room to breathe. Back when you still believed that crying was a kind of release. Now? There's no room left. The trench is too full of bodies, of rot, of time slowed down until it crushes the bones in your chest. So you stop crying, not because you're strong, because crying is something the body does when it thinks it's safe. And here, nothing is. You watch a man die 5 feet from you. He doesn't scream, just drops. A thud like a sack of sand hitting the mud. You glance over, nod, go back to what you were doing. You don't cry. You've seen worse. You watch the young ones come in fresh uniforms, fresh eyes. They cry their first night, curled up against the trench wall trying to muffle the sound with their sleeves. You don't comfort them. That would make it worse. That would mean acknowledging it. Better to let them bleed it out quietly. They won't cry again after that. Not once they understand. You remember the last time you almost cried. Not over death, not over pain. It was over a photo. Someone handed you a picture, a little square of paper, bent at the corners, creased across the middle. A girl, standing in front of a house you half recognized, holding a dog you used to walk after dinner. And for a second, just a second, your throat closed. You felt it coming. But then a shell hit 50 meters away and someone yelled and the picture dropped into the mud and the moment passed. You didn't look for it. You couldn't afford to. Crying costs energy, focus. It unravels you, makes you soft, and soft things break here. Fast. You've seen men cry after battle, not during, never during, after. When the adrenaline fades and the bodies have stopped moving and the quiet settles in like fog over a graveyard. They sob like children. Then they dry up like corpses. It's always the quiet ones, the calm ones, the ones who held the line when the trench fell apart. They're the ones who crack. Their tears don't come with sound, just water down the cheeks and a stare that never lands anywhere. You envy them, because at least they still can. You can't remember the last tear that left your face. Not because it was long ago, because you buried that part of yourself in the same place. You buried your fear, your doubt, your want for anything beyond the next hour. You don't cry when you're wounded. You don't cry when you're told your section's down to 3. You don't cry when the guy next to you says he's not going over the top again and no one argues because everyone silently agrees. You just nod and dig a little deeper. You learn new ways to grieve, quiet ones, ways that don't cost you your edge. You stare too long at the fire. You trace names in the dirt with your boot. You keep letters you'll never answer. You fold your coat twice at night even when it's too wet to matter. You do all these little things like rituals because ritual is the only form of mourning that doesn't get you killed. But tears? They're a luxury. They belong to men who get to go home. You'll cry again, maybe, if you survive. If your soul doesn't rot where your boots already have. If there's still a part of you that knows how. But out here, no one cries. Not because they're brave, because they've already drowned. Chapter 18. Rats, everywhere and always. The first time you see one, you think it's a cat. It's that big. Thick, wet fur, yellow teeth, a tail like a rope dragged through a sewer. It scurries across your feet like you're not even there, like you're just part of the trench, another lump of mud in its endless maze. You flinch, Everyone does the first time. Then you stop. Because the rats don't stop. They don't flinch. They don't fear. They own the trench. You see them at all hours, climbing over sandbags, chewing through ration tins, fighting in pairs like boxers in a filthy ring. Sometimes you hear them before you see them, claws on wood, squeaks in the dark, the rustle of something living inside your blanket. They're not scared of you. You scare easily. They've chewed through boots, through satchels, through men. You wake up once to one nibbling on your hand, you swat it away, and it hisses at you like you're the intruder. Its eyes glow in the low light, black and bottomless. Some nights you sleep sitting up just to keep your face out of reach. Some nights you don't sleep at all. They nest in the corners, under boards, inside corpses. You've seen it, a dead man left too long in no man's land, rats crawling in and out of his mouth like it's a doorway. No one moves to stop them. They're faster than you, hungrier too. You hear stories, everyone does, about the guy who lost 2 fingers overnight, about the guy who rolled over in his sleep and crushed one and woke up to 3 more gnawing at his shoulder in revenge. They fight over food, over blood, over space. Sometimes over you. You tried to kill one once. Used your bayonet, cornered it under a mess tin. You stabbed it, again and again, and it still bit you. You threw it into the mud and watched it twitch for 5 minutes before it finally stopped moving. Then 2 more showed up to eat it. They're cannibals, you learn. They eat anything. Dead, alive, doesn't matter. One crawled into Harris's coat while he was on watch. He felt it moving along his ribs. Didn't react. Just stared ahead, too afraid to break silence, too tired to care. The rat left after a while. Probably got bored. You stopped writing about them in your letters home. No one would believe it. They'd think you're exaggerating, making it up, trying to scare them. But you're not. You've seen one drag a biscuit out of a man's mouth while he was eating it. You've seen one fall into the latrine and climb back out, like it knew the trench would never beat it. The rats are always here, always watching, always moving just at the edge of your vision. When a shell hits and bodies fly apart, the rats are the first to arrive. They know the sound, the rhythm. They wait for the silence after. Then they come running. Dozens, hundreds. You can't outrun them. You can't fight them. All you can do is hope they choose someone else. You tried to name one once, called it Lieutenant. Thought that was funny. It stole your soap and disappeared into a dugout wall. You never saw it again. But you saw its children. Generations of them, growing fatter off the war, thriving, while you waste away. You wonder what the rats will do when the war ends. If it ends, will they go back to the shadows? Or will they take the world that's left behind? You think about it sometimes, about a future ruled by rats and ghosts and wet walls and old helmets buried deep in the dirt. You wouldn't be surprised. They've earned it. Chapter 19. The morning you snap. It doesn't happen with a bang. It's not a scream or a shot or a sudden collapse into madness like the stories say. It's quieter than that. It's a spoon. You drop your spoon. That's it. It falls from your hand into the mud just like everything else here. And when you reach for it, something inside you doesn't move, doesn't follow. It's like a switch got flipped. Or maybe unflipped. You sit there staring at it, at the stupid curved shape sinking into the muck like it's dragging your soul with it. You don't pick it up. You don't eat. You just sit. That's the moment. The snap. Not loud, not dramatic, just a break so small it feels normal. That morning you heard the shelling before dawn, nothing new. You felt the walls shake and your teeth vibrate in your skull. You pissed in a corner and didn't bother tying your boots properly. Harris said something a joke, maybe. You didn't answer. There was a body on the steps. New. No one moved it. You stepped over it. Your sock was wet before you even hit the duckboards. The officer said something about a patrol. You nodded. But in your head, nothing. Just static. You used to run through lists in the morning gear check. Ration count, who's missing, what part of your uniform might still be dry. Now there's no list. Just a voice saying, don't bother. So you don't. The others notice, kind of. Harris gives you a look, like maybe he recognizes what's happening. Maybe he's seen it before. Maybe he's waiting for it to pass. But it doesn't. That's the thing. When you snap, there's no echo. Just a dull, permanent silence where the sound used to be. The officer yells your name once, twice. You don't look up. He stops yelling. They move on without you. You sit there with your hands in your lap, fingers twitching against nothing. You try to feel something. Cold, fear, hunger. Nothing. A rat scurries over your boot. You don't move. Someone offers you a smoke. You let it hang from your lip. You don't light it. You hear the patrol return. Someone is missing. No one says who. There's blood on a bayonet, but it's not yours. You stare at the spoon still half buried by your boot. That's when Harris kneels next to you, doesn't touch you, just sits, silent. He doesn't ask what's wrong. He knows it wouldn't help. Instead, he hands you his spoon. Not like he's giving it away, like he's lending it. You take it. Eat a mouthful of beans. Then another. Then you stand up. Your hands shake as you pick up your rifle. Nothing's changed. Except now, you're functioning. Not healed. Not fixed. Just moving again. Like a machine with a broken part jammed into place. You'll walk. You'll eat. You'll fire when told. And when the next spoon drops, you won't blink. Because once you snap, there's no going back. You just learn how to walk with the crack. Chapter 20. Aftermath. If you're lucky, you wake up somewhere else. Not in the trench, not in the mud, not with the smell of blood under your fingernails. You wake up in a bed, a real one, with white sheets and soft light leaking through a window that doesn't rattle when the earth shakes. And for a moment, you think you're dead. But you're not. You're just somewhere safe. Somewhere behind the line, or maybe far from the front altogether. A hospital, maybe, or a quiet barracks. Your body still aches, your hands still shake, but the war isn't touching you right now. That's what luck looks like. You lie there staring at the ceiling for a long time. Hours, maybe. Days. You don't ask questions. You don't speak unless you have to. Someone brings you food and you eat it. Someone says you're clear for discharge, and you nod like you understand what that means. You don't. Not yet. If you're lucky, you get to leave. You get to pack a small bag and board a train and step back into a world that hasn't seen what you've seen. A world that doesn't smell like death. That doesn't echo with distant gunfire and the sound of your name shouted in fear. You wear a uniform that no longer fits you right. Too loose, too tight. You've changed shape since it was issued. The people at the station smile. They shake your hand. They say things like thank you and hero, and you did your duty. You smile back. You nod. But inside there's only silence. You walk the streets of your old town and nothing is where you left it. Shops have changed names. Faces have changed shapes. You don't recognize the man in the mirror. His eyes are too dark, too quiet. If you're lucky, your family's still there. They hug you, cry, ask questions. You answer some. You lie about the rest. You say, "It wasn't that bad." You say, "We stuck together." You say, "We did our part." You don't say what it sounded like when the gas came in, or how the mud sucked a man in so deep only his fingers were left above the surface. You don't say how Harris died with his spoon still in his hand. You don't say any of that, because the war came home with you. It's in your lungs, your skin, your dreams. If you're lucky, they give you work, a desk, a wage, a reason to get up in the morning. And if you're really lucky, that reason works most days. But not all. Some mornings you wake up and smell cordite in the air, even when there's none. Some nights you hear the rain and feel your boots start to rot again. Sometimes you flinch when a door slams, or when someone yells, or when someone touches you too fast. You can't explain it, so you stop trying. If you're lucky, people stop asking. They leave you alone. They let you sit in silence. They let you drink too much at the pub and stare too long at nothing and walk home without saying a word. And if you were unlucky, you never left. You made it home, but something inside didn't. You walk streets you recognize like a ghost in someone else's life. You see a child with your eyes. You hear laughter and feel nothing. You sit in a chair and hold your tea and wish quietly without words that a shell would land just to break the silence. That's the truth no one prints. That's the secret stitched into every medal and folded flag. The lucky ones made it out. The unlucky ones are still out there, even now, years later. Still in the trench. Still listening. Still waiting for the whistle. Because sometimes surviving is just another way of losing. And if you're lucky, you live with it, one day at a time.